Hello everyone, welcome to the 21st part of microcontroller architecture and programming, that is interrupt programming. In previous video, we have learned about the interrupts. An interrupt is an external or internal event that interrupts the microcontroller to inform it that a device needs its service. And the program which is associated with the interrupt is called interrupt service routine, that is ISR, or interrupt handler. So apart from or along with this interrupt, there is another method to provide the service to the IO devices is the polling. So in interrupt method, any device needs service, the device notifies the microcontroller by sending an interrupt signal. So upon receiving an interrupt signal, the microcontroller stops whatever it is doing and serves the device. So each device gets attention based on this priority that is connected to the microcontroller. In contrast, in polling method, the microcontroller continuously monitoring the status of a given device. So when the condition met, it gives the service to that device. And after that, it again starts monitoring the next device until everyone is serviced. So in polling method, time of microcontroller wastes. So that's why to save the timing of microcontroller, interrupt method is used. And this helps to increase the speed of a operation of microcontroller. So there are 6 interrupts in 8051, that is reset. Then it has 2 interrupts are set aside for timer 0 and timer 1. They are also called as internal interrupts or software interrupts. Then 2 interrupts are set aside for external interrupts, that is int 0 and int 1. They are also called as hardware interrupts. And one more interrupt is there, that is a serial communication, and it has a single interrupt that belongs to both receive and transfer the data. And here is the table in which all these interrupts and the default priorities assigned to these interrupts they have given. So int 0 has the highest priority, then timer 0 has the lowest priority than int 0 but has the highest priority than the other interrupts. Then int 1 has the lowest priority than int 0 and timer 0 but has the highest priority than timer 1 and serial communication interrupt. Then TF1 or timer 1 has the lowest priority than the int 0, TF0 and int 1 but has the highest priority than the serial communication interrupt, and the serial communication interrupt has the lowest priority. And these are the default priorities assigned by the microcontroller, and we can change these priorities by using the register, that is interrupt priority register. So here are the interrupt vector table is given. So where each interrupt has a specific place in a core memory where program execution or ISR begins. So these are the vector addresses where the particular ISR of a particular interrupt is assigned. So int 0 has the vector address that is 0003H. For timer 0 it is 000BH. For int 1 or external interrupt 1 it is 0013H. For timer 1 it is 001BH, and for serial communication, that is for both RI and TI, it is 0023H. The interrupts, that is int 0, TF0, int 1 and TF1, the flag, they are cleared automatically after execution of the interrupt subroutine. But in serial communication or for serial interrupt, the programmer have to clear the flag. So along with this interrupts, the important registers are interrupt enable register. This is used to enable and disable these interrupts individually, and the interrupt priority register is used to change the priorities of these interrupts. Another register, that is TCON register, is used for the external interrupts. So here is the IE register. It is an 8-bit register, and the 7th bit of this IE register is EA, that is enable all. But this is also called as a global bit. So this enables or disables all the interrupt globally. When this bit is 0, all interrupts are disabled, and when this bit is 1, all interrupts are individually enabled. Now this bit 6 is reserved. Then ET2, that is the 5th bit of IE register, used to enable disable timer 2 interrupt. Then ES bit, that is the fourth bit of IE register used to enable disable serial port interrupt. ET1, third bit of IE register used to enable disable timer 1 interrupt. EX1, the second bit of IE register used to enable disable external interrupt 1. ET2, the first bit of this IE register is used to enable disable timer 0 interrupt, and the 0th bit of this IE register used to enable disable external interrupt int 0. IP register, so this is also an 8-bit register, and this is used to change the priorities of the interrupts. So bit 7 and 6, they are reserved. PT2, which is the 5th bit of this IP register, is used to assign the priority for timer 2. Then bit 4 of IP register is used for serial port interrupt priority. Then bit 3, that is PT1, timer or interrupt priority bit. PX1, this is the external interrupt 1 priority bit. PT0 is the timer 0 interrupt priority bit. PX0 is the external interrupt 0 priority bit. So we can change the priorities or the default priorities assigned to this interrupts using this IP register. So here are the steps in executing an interrupt. So when the microcontroller is interrupted by any device, firstly it finishes the instruction it is executing and saves the address of the next instruction that is in the PC on the stack. It also saves the current status of all the interrupt internally. Then it jumps to a fixed location in a memory called the interrupt vector table that holds the address of the interrupt service routine. So the microcontroller gets the address of that ISR from the interrupt vector and jumps to it, and it starts to execute the interrupt service subroutine or ISR until it reaches the last instruction of the subroutine. And the last instruction of this subroutine is nothing but the RETI instruction. So upon executing this instruction, the microcontroller returns to the place where it was interrupted. So these are the steps according to which the interrupt service is provided to a particular device. So our first interrupt is a timer interrupts. It is also called as a rollover, timer, flag and interrupt. So for timers, there are two timers and there are two flags, TF0 and TF1. They have assigned for these timers which generates this interrupt. When TF0 becomes 1, it sets the interrupt for timer 0 and it jumps to the vector address or interrupt vector that is 00BH, and for timer 1, when TF1 flag becomes 1, it jumps, interrupt is generated and it jumps to the interrupt vector address that is 001BH. So if the timer interrupt is enabled whenever TF1 or TF0 they are 1, the microcontroller is interrupted in whatever it is doing and jumps to the interrupt vector table to service the ISR. So in this way, the microcontroller can do other things until it is notified that the timer has rolled over, and this helps the it helps to microcontroller to increase the speed of its processing. So here is the programming timer interrupts. Write a program that continuously get data bit or 8-bit data from port 0 and send it to port 1. What we have to do? We have to take data from port 2, that means port 0. That means port 0 is nothing but the input port, and we have to send it to the port 1. And while doing this, simultaneously we have to generate a square wave of 200 microseconds period on pin P2.1, and we have to use the timer 0 to create the square wave, and crystal frequency is given. So we have already studied how to calculate the value which we have to load into these timer registers for to generate the square wave of a 200 microsecond. So that's why I have skipped that calculation and I have directly write the program. So here is the static location of our program, that is 000H, and the instruction that is ljump main. This is used to bypass the interrupt vector table. So it jumps to the main program where we initialize the timers. So the address of this program is 0030H. So with the instruction move tmod, #02H, we are actually selecting the timer 0 in mode 2 to generate the square wave of 200 microseconds. So here, while doing or while creating the square wave, we have to also take data from port 2 or port 0 and we have to send it to port 1. So that's why we are making or initializing this port 0 as an input port by using the instruction move p0, #00 fh. Now we are loading the value to generate the square wave into th0, that is A4H. Now along with this, we have to generate the interrupt also. So we are enabling that interrupts using this instruction move IE, #82H. So we are enabling the individual interrupts and global interrupt by using this instruction. So here the 7th bit, that is enable all pin, must be high to enable the individual interrupt, and by making this bit 1, that is IE1 bit for timer 0 interrupt. So we are placing the value that is 1000 is nothing but 8 and 0010 is nothing but 2. So that is 82H to enable the interrupt. Set bit TR0, timer is start using this instruction. So as a timer is start, so square wave generation will be start. So here, while doing this, we have to get data from port 0. So we are writing the instruction move A, port 0. So whatever data available at port 0, that will be loaded into accumulator. And what we have to do, we have to send this data to port 1. So we are using instruction move P1, A, and we are sending the data from port 0 to port 1. So we have to do this continuously. So when this work is done by or continuously done by this microcontroller, when the timer is rolled over, it generates the interrupt, and microcontroller stop the sending of data and it serves to the interrupt. It jumps to the ISR or vector table, and where it get the address of the timer 0 interrupt, that is 00BH, and it jump to that vector location where we have complemented the P2.1 pin, and we just return from that interrupt. And after execution of this instruction RETI, it will come back to this work, whatever it is doing, that is, it is getting data from port 0 and sending it to port 1. So it will continuously do it. And again, when the timer rolls over, it will jump to that location or this vector address. Again, it will complement the P2.1 and square wave is generating while getting data from port 0 and sending it to port 1. So in this way, the microcontroller can serve the interrupt. So here is the C interrupt numbers. So these are the vector addresses for this interrupts, and these are the numbers used by 8051 in C programming. So for 80, number 0 is used for TF0 interrupt or timer 0 interrupt. Number 1 is used for int1 external interrupt 1. 2 is used for timer 1, 3, and for serial communication or serial port 4 is used. So programming timer interrupts in C. So our first instruction is include RET51.h. This includes the header file required for this 8051. Then we here P2.1. This is the P2.1 pin at which we have to generate the square wave. So I have defining this bit with the variable name wave using data type S bit. So here is the main program where we have to initialize the timer, then we have to enable the interrupts. So here we are making the port 0 as an input port using instruction P0 equal to 0x0ffh. Then we are loading the value 0x02h into T mode register to select timer 0 in mode 2. Then we are moving the value A4H into TH0 register for the square wave. Again here we are enabling the interrupts individually and globally using the instruction IE equal to 0x82h. Now start the timer using instruction tr0 equal to 1. So this will start generating the square wave, and what we have to do, we have to continuously getting data from port 0 and send it to port 2. So here we are getting data from port 0 and sending it to port 2. So while doing this, when timer becomes rollover, it generates interrupt and it will jump to the this timer 0 interrupt vector, where the ISR is given that we have just complementing that bit p2.1 using this instruction wave equal to negation of this wave. So after doing this, it will return from this interrupt and jump to this loop. So here again it will start getting data from port 0 and giving it to port 2. When again timer rolls over, it again jumps to this vector address and it will again execute the ISR. So this will done by the microcontroller continuously. So it will generate the square wave, and as well as it will get data from port 0 and send it to port 2 continuously. External interrupts. For 8051 there are two external interrupts, that is int0 and int1. So these are nothing but the port 3's pin, that is port 3.2 and port P3.3. So to activate this, activation of this external interrupts, there are two types. We can activate this interrupts using level triggered or edge triggered methods. Both int1 and int0, they can be activated using level triggered and edge triggered. For edge trigger, the falling edge or negative edge triggering is used. When at the input there is a falling edge or negative edge is present, at that time that external interrupt will be generated. And for these two interrupts in T-count register, this IE0 and IE1, these two bits are used. So here is the, after activation of this int0 interrupt, it will jump to the ISR address or vector address, that is 0003H, and when int1 is interrupted, it jumps to its vector address, that is 0013H. So after activation of these pins, the 8051 gets interrupted and jumps to the vector table to execute the interrupt service routine available over there. So there are two types of activation, that is level triggered interrupt and a edge triggered interrupt. So in level triggered interrupt, int0 and int1 pins are normally high, and if low level signal is applied to them, it triggers the interrupt. In edge triggered interrupt, the external source must be held high for at least one machine cycle and then held low for at least one machine cycle to ensure that transition is seen by microcontroller. As in edge triggered interrupt, the negative edge triggering is used, or the interrupt is generated when the microcontroller notice the high to low transition or negative edge at the input. At that time it will generate the interrupt, and for that purpose, to notify that transition from high to low, we have to held that high pulse or held high for at least one machine cycle, and then here we have to held low for at least one machine cycle, so that the microcontroller can notice the transition from high to low and it will generate the interrupt. So to make the edge trigger interrupts, we must program the bits of T-count registers. So these T-count register bits, they are nothing but the T-count.1, that is IE0, and T-count.3, that is IE1 bits. This holds the latch falling edge of int0 and int1 respectively. And we have learned or seen this T-count register in previous video. So here is the programming external level trigger interrupt. So here two switches are connected to P3.2 and P3.3. That is nothing but the int0 and int1 pins. So when switch is pressed, the corresponding lines goes low, and we have to write program to light all LEDs connected to port 0 if the first switch is pressed, that is connected to P3.2, that is int0 pin, and light all LEDs connected to port 2 if second switch is pressed, and that is connected to P3.3, that is nothing but the int1 pin. So here is the starting location of our program, and again using this ljump main instruction we bypasses the interrupt vector table. So here is the main program. So our starting address or the initialization program is stored at 0030H. So here we are initializing the IE register. That means we are enabling the interrupt. We have to use both int0 and int1 interrupts. So we are moving the value 85H to IE register. That means here the 7th bit, that is enable or bit, must be high to interrupt or enable these individual interrupts, and to enable this int0 and int1 pin or interrupts, these two pins, that is IE0 and IE2, these pins must be high. So we get the value that is 85H. So we are moving this value into IE register to enable these interrupts. What we have to do, we have to just wait for the interrupt. So that's why the instruction is given sjump loop. So it will remains over here. That means it is waiting for the interrupt. And when the any one switch of these two, any one switch is pressed, suppose we have considered that the first switch is pressed. So interrupt is generated. That means low level or a triggered interrupt is generated, and it will jump to the vector address table where it get the address of the int0 interrupt, that is 0003H, where what we have to do, we have to light all the LEDs connected to this port 0. So here by using instruction move P0, #0FFH, we are turn on all LEDs connected to this port 0, and we have to make them on for some time. So here I have moved the value #255 into R0, and using instruction DJNZ R0, that means decrement jump if not 0. Here R0, content of R0 is decremented, and if it is not 0, we have to jump this location, that is LED 1. So it will remain over here till the R0 becomes 0. So when this R0 becomes 0, it comes out of the loop, and here we are turning off the LEDs connected to this port 0 and return from the interrupt. So after execution of this instruction RETI, we will come here, that is sjump loop. Again we are waiting for the interrupt, and if the second switch is pressed, then the IS4 int1 is generated, and microcontroller jump to the vector table where it get the address of this int1 interrupt, that is 0013H, and where it will turn on the LEDs connected to port 2. So here value FFH is moved to the port 2. Again we have to light them for some time. So here again I have loaded the value 255 into R0, and again we are decrementing this R0, and we have waiting for this R0 becomes 0. So after it becomes 0, it will come out of the loop and it will turn off the LEDs, and after execution of this instruction RETI, again it will return to the main program here, sjump loop. So again when the switch is pressed, it will jump to the particular interrupt ISR. So in this way it will serve the level trigger external interrupt. Now the second program for age triggered interrupt. So where we have to generate a square wave at P1.1, which is half of the frequency of the signal applied at int0, that is P3.2. Now here one signal, that is input signal is applied, or square wave is applied at int0 pin, and what we have to do, we have to generate a square wave at P0.1, and which is half of the frequency of this applied signal. So when this square wave which is applied to int0 pin, when its falling edge is detected by the microcontroller, that is high to low transition is detected, so at that time it will generate the interrupt, and it will generate the square wave, that is half of the frequency of this applied signal. So here is our starting address. Again using instruction ljump main, we are bypass the interrupt vector table. Here is the main program in which we are initializing the registers. So we are moving the value 81H into IE. Now here we are just using int 0 interrupt. That's why we are just loading the value 81H. That means we are enabling the enable all pin and enabling the int 0 interrupt. So we get the value 81H. So again we are waiting for the interrupt. That means the square wave, it is applied to the int 0 pin, and when the falling edge of this input square wave is generated, interrupt is generated, and it will jump to the ISR that is located at 0003H vector address, where what we have to do, we have to just complement the pin P0.1. Again it return from the interrupt, and it will again executing this loop waiting for the interrupt. Again when the next high to low edged or a high to low transition detected by the microcontroller, again interrupt is generated, and again it will complement the P1.1 pin, P0.1 pin, and in this way it will generate the square wave at P0.1. That is the half the frequency of the input signal. Now the serial communication interrupt. So serial communication interrupt is actually a single interrupt in which it or in which it has two flags, that is TI and RI. So for this transmission and reception of this data, it will generate the single interrupt. So this interrupt is used to both send and receive the data. If the interrupt in IE register, that is IE.4, is enabled, when RI or TI is raised, the 8051 gets interrupted and jumps to the memory location, that is 0023H, to execute the ISR. But in that ISR, we must examine the RI and TI flags to see which one caused the serial port interrupt. As for both these two flags, the single interrupt is there. So after generating the interrupt, we must have to check the RI and TI flags, which one caused the interrupt. If RI is set, then read data from SBUF to a safe place and clear RI. That means we have to serve the RI interrupt or to receive the data. And if TI is set, then copy the next character to be transmitted into SBUF and clear TI. So in this way, the serial communication interrupt is served by the microcontroller. So here is the programming serial communication interrupt. So our first example is write a program in which the 8051 reads data from port 1 and writes it to port 2 continuously. So while doing this, giving a copy of it to the serial COM port to be transferred serially. So here what we have to do, again we have to get data from port 1. So port 1 is nothing but the input port, and we have to send that data to port 2 continuously. And while doing this, whatever data we have reading from port 1, we have to send that data serially too. So for this, we have to assume the crystal frequency, that is 11.0592 megahertz, and set the baud rate at 9600. So in previous video, we have learned how we can calculate the value which we have to move into the timer register for this particular baud rate. So here our starting instruction ORG000H, this is our starting location, and again using instruction ljump main, we are bypass the interrupt vector table. So here at the location ORG0023H, this ISR for this serial port is written, that is the vector address for the serial port, and here the ljump serial, that means when the program or the ISR subroutine is lengthy, then we can use the instruction ljump to the other location. So here is the main program for initialization. We have written that it at the location 0030H. So here again, as we are getting data from port 1, so this is an input port, so we have to configure that port 1 as an input. So we are configuring this using instruction move p1 #0 ffh. Now we have to set the baud rate to transmit data serially. So we are using the instruction move tmod #20h. That means we are using timer 1 in mode 2 to set the baud rate. And here is the value, that is 0 FDH, that is used to set the baud rate to 9600, that is loaded into TH1 register. Now we have to also set the or select the mode to transmit data serially. So here we are moving the value 50H to SCON register. So this is the serial control register. We are selecting the mode to transmit data serially. So here we have selected 8-bit mode, that is 8-bit UART, where one stop bit and one stop bit and one start bit is used and receiver is enabled. Again, this is we have to again generate this serial interrupt also. So that's why we have initializing this interrupt enable register also with the value 90H. So here, using this value 90H, we are enabling the serial interrupt. So our 7th bit is always 1, that is enable all, and along with this serial interrupt enable bit is 1. So the value 1001 is 9 and 000 is 0. So we get value 90H. Set bit TR1, it starts the timer 1. So it is getting data from port 1 and loaded into accumulator. Now to transfer this data, we have loaded that data into SBUF. What we have to do? We have to get the data from port 1 and send it to P2 continuously, and also we have to send that copy, transfer that copy of data from getting from port 1 serially. So we have placed that data in SBUF to transfer it serially, and again we have transferring that data to port 2 also, and this we have to do continuously. So here, when the last character of the data is transferred, the interrupt is generated, and after generating that serial interrupt, what will do? It will go to the jump to the vector address of this serial port, that is 0023H, where the instruction is given ljump serial. So it jump to that location. That subroutine is stored on the location org100H. So here, what it will do? It will monitor the flag TI. It checks whether this TI is raised or not. If bit TI. If this TI flag is 1, jump to this location, that is trans, where we have to clear this TI flag to set the next character and return from the subroutine. If this TI flag is not set, then what we have to do? We have to, otherwise we have to receive the data that is available in SBUF. So get the data from that SBUF into A, clear RI flag to receive data and return from the subroutine. So after execution of this RETI, it will come back over here. So it will start executing this loop again. It will get data from port 1, send it to port 2, and it again it will give one copy of this data to SBUF also to send it serially. So again, when interrupt is generated, again it will jump to this location, and again it will check whether this TI flag is raised or not. If it is raised, it will clear it, and if it is not raised or it is not high, it will receive the data in accumulator. So in this way, the serial communication interrupt is served by the microcontroller. Another example, programming serial communication interrupt. So write a program for the following, that is generate square wave at P1.3 using timer 0 in mode 1, that is interrupt mode, and take data from port 2 and send it serially and continuously, set the baud rate at 9600. Now what we have to do? We have to generate a square wave also on P1.3. While generating that square wave, we have to also get data from port 2, and we have to send that data serially, and we have to do this continuously. So here is the starting address, and using instruction ljump mean we are bypass the interrupt vector table. So here is the timer 0 ISR location or vector address, and this is the serial port vector address. So this instruction ljump main, this will bypass all these vector addresses or vector table, and it will jump to the main program. So here our main program started at location 0030H. So here we have to take data from port 2. So this is an input port. So we have to initialize this port as an input using this instruction move p2 #0FFH. Again, we have to set a baud rate also, and we have to generate a square wave also. For both this purpose we required timers. So here we are using both timers, and that's why we are moving value in T mode, that is #21H. That means we are selecting timer 1 in mode 2, that is auto reload, to generate baud rate, and we are also selecting the timer 0 in mode 1 to generate the square wave. So here the value 0FDH, that is loaded into TH1, that is timer 1 register, to set the baud rate at 9600. And here again using instruction move scon #50H, we are enabling we are selecting the mode for serial transmission, that is 8-bit UART mode with one stop bit, and receiver is enabled. Again here we are loading the count for the square wave generation, that is 00H into TH0 and 0FH into TL0. As we are using this timer in mode 1, so that's why we have loading the value 16-bit value into TH0 and TL0. Again we have to enable this interrupt also. So we are moving value move IE #92H. So here we are actually enabling the serial interrupt as well as a timer 0 interrupt, and that's why we get the value 92H. Now start timer 1 for baud rate to transmit data serially, and start timer 0 for square wave generation. Now after starting this both timers, get data from port 2 and load it to accumulator using instruction move a port 2. And what we have to do, we have to send this data serially. So load that data into SBUF to transmit it serially, and do it continuously. So while doing this, we have to generate a square wave also. So wait for an interrupt. So while doing this, when interrupt is generated, suppose the last character of that data is transmitted, then TI flag will be raised and the serial interrupt is generated. So it will jump, the microcontroller will jump to the serial interrupt. So here at address 0023H, where it will jump again ljump serial subroutine. So here it will check the status of this TI flag. If this is 1, it jumps to trans, and where it is clear the TI flag for to transmit next character and return from this subroutine. If the TI flag is 0, then it will get data from SBUF into accumulator, and it will clear the RI flag and return from the subroutine. So it will again come back to this main program. So if the timer 0 is overflowed, then again interrupt is generated, and it will jump to the timer 0 ISR, that is 00BH, where it will complement the P1.3 at which we want to generate the square wave. Again we are using this timer in mode 1, so we have to reload that values into TH0 and TL0. So we are loading this value into timer 0 and return from the interrupt. So it will again return into the main program. Then again it will get data from port 2 and it will send it on serially or load it into SBUF, and it will send serially. So again it will wait for the interrupt also, and when the interrupt is generated, whether it is timer 0 or a ISR for serial port or a serial port interrupt, then the microcontroller will jump to the particular ISR location. So in this way the microcontroller will serve for the multiple interrupts. So here is the assignment is given. So these are some questions based on this topic. So write the program in assembly and C also. So try to write the program. Thank you.